going to take a look at the gasket today. We are going to draw the object here, not the dimensions, because we haven't covered how to create dimensions. This is for your practice. You can follow along on your computer screen, or you can watch this first and then try it, or you could try it first and then watch how I would approach this drawing. The first thing that you need to do is go ahead and start a new drawing. You can do this from a couple different locations. When you first start your AutoCAD, you may see the startup menu, which was shown in a previous video. And you could also see where if you go to the Start New button, you have this quick menu that's Start from Scratch. Either location is fine. If you're not sure how to get this Start from Scratch menu, please go back to your menu video with quick start example. Or you can also go back through and follow the textbook as well on both of these. You can go ahead and again start a new drawing by selecting feet and inches because it is drawn in inches. Or the other method is to go ahead and again, we'll go to our start menu and you can just create new and it'll start a new drawing for you. Notice that this one has your grid. I always turn the grid off. Excuse me, that is my preference, and it's entirely up to you if you use the grid or not. I don't use the grid because I am free drawing. I'm not snapping to a grid or using that grid as a reference. I feel as you get to more in-depth and difficult problems, you're not going to have those anyway. So I don't start with that at all. All right, so let's take a look at this drawing here. The first thing is it is in inches. And I may want to come up here and format if you have not already done so through the quick start menu. And that is your units. Make sure they're set to decimal. Your precision, you want to make sure is set to 2 decimal places. And remember that precision is the precision of the actual measurement for your line. If you had it set to just a whole number here, then the precision is to that whole number. So now we're to the 100th spot or 2 decimal places. And that's really the only thing that you need to change on here. Now, the first thing that you want to look at is where should I begin? And when I look at a drawing, I wanted to start where I have the most information. Now, you'll find as we move through this course and get to more and more difficult drawings, some of the things I teach you today will not be quite the same things that you use in the future. But with the knowledge that you have right now, we're going to start here. So the first thing that I would do is I'm looking at this drawing and I tend to start in the bottom left-hand corner. But when I look at this here, I can't actually draw this whole piece because I don't know this angle or this dimension here. So I'm actually going to start right here and move counterclockwise. And we're going to go ahead and just choose our line. And I'm not going to use the coordinate system where my 0, 0's down here and I have to determine where my first spot is. I'm just going to go ahead and select anywhere on my screen. At this point, I can go ahead and use my dynamic input, which is when I just move my cursor in the direction of the line and then type in the actual dimension. Now notice down here at the bottom, I do have my polar tracking on, which allows my lines to stay at the 180, 45, and so forth around my circle. And I also have my object snap on, which we won't use for, actually we will use for this. And then also my object snap tracking, which is that green line that you see. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my cursor out to the left and go ahead and type in my actual dimension, which is 1.300, or excuse me, 1.3. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my overall measurement, which I see over here. Again, just dragging my cursor straight up and typing in my measurement, 1.80. And following our dimension here, our next horizontal measurement is 1.40. Our vertical measurement we see right here, which is 0.40. Now, as you're moving along, if you ever realize you kind of got off that polar or the object snap or polar tracking or anything like that, and let's say I put my next measurement in, which is 2 inches minus 1.4, which is 0.6. And let's say I was slightly off and I typed in 0.60 instead and hit enter. You don't have to stop and go back and erase. All you have to do is right click, select undo, and then it'll bring you back to that last spot. And you could keep going, undo, 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 and it just undoes the last line segment that you created. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my 0.60 and bring my cursor straight down for my 0.80. And then here's where I want that object snap on. So notice how it's snapping to the endpoint. Notice when I leave my cursor there, it'll say endpoint. If you're not getting that, you can go down to your object snap command and do the drop down arrow and see all the different options for snapping to. So it'll snap to an endpoint, snap to a midpoint, center, and so forth. So right now we want to make sure the endpoint is actually selected. So I can snap again where you see that green box, it kind of clicks there with your mouse when you get close, and just go ahead and left click to select that line. I can go ahead and hit enter twice or hit escape to end the command. So that was pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. Now let's move on to putting in these holes or these circles in this case, since it's a 2D object representing a hole. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure you have your object snap menu open. And to do that, you want to go to your tools and you want to go to toolbars, go to AutoCAD, and then select object snap. You'll see I have it open because there's a little check mark here. I keep this open all the time because I use it so frequently. So the first thing that you do when you're going to use this object snap is it's actually going to override your object snap for the whole drawing. So for example, if I want to make sure I hit a intersection or a midpoint and it keeps snapping to an endpoint, I can come up here and choose that option. You know, here's your midpoint, here's your intersection, and so forth. And again, we'll keep talking about these as we move through the semester. So we're going to choose the hole or circle option here. And again, since we're working in 2D, I'm going to call it a circle. And I want to make sure I choose diameter, because if you look at our drawing, it's given to us in diameter. Now, I don't want to just click anywhere here on the screen. I'm actually going to use that object snap option, and the very second one in is snap from. What that allows us to do is go ahead and select, and I can choose a base point for my hole or my circle. And I know if I choose this top left corner, if I go over to the right on the x-axis 0.4 and down 0.8, I have the center point for this circle. So if I snap from this circle or this endpoint here, it now makes this item for one time, one command through the 0, 0. So the next thing I have to do is my @ symbol, because I'm using that absolute, or excuse me, the relative. So basically it's relative to this 0, 0 that I just chose, not the 0, 0 down here. So once I put that @ symbol in, I can go ahead and put in my dimension. So I'm going to go to the right on my x-axis 0.4, so it stays positive, comma, and now we're going to put in our y-axis. And since we're moving down, we're going to the negative side of the y-axis. So we're going to put negative 0.8 and hit enter. And that's going to be, whoops, I don't know that I actually selected my circle and that snap from. I think I just showed you. There we go. So there's my base point, my @ symbol, and then I'm going again to put my 0.4, comma, negative 0.8, 0, and that's going to give me the center point of that circle. And now all I have to do is type in the diameter. And if you ever forget what you're supposed to do, notice that we have that dynamic input that's asking for a size. And as I move my cursor, my circle gets larger. But you can also come down to your command line and it's telling you, put in the specify your diameter of your circle. So you don't have to memorize these commands, just follow the command bar or up by your cursor. So we're going to go ahead and put in our 0.60, and there's our first circle. Now let's go ahead and try this one more time. Again, it's a circle and we have the diameter. We're going to snap from, and this time my measurement is from the center of this circle and it's in line with, it's down that 0.8. So all I have to do is choose the center of my circle. And to get it to kind of activate here, just run your cursor over the top of your circle and see how now you can see that center mark. If you don't, again, come down here and make sure you have center option chosen. So we're going to choose my center point here. And then I'm going to again put my @ symbol, because since I chose that, it's saying where I'm at is 0, 0. and I want to move to the right 0.77, so it's positive, and I'm not moving up and down for my center of my circle, so I'm going to go ahead and put 0 and enter, and there's that circle as well. And now all I have to do is again is specify the size, 0.45, hit enter, and now we just created this gasket.